Good evening, YouTube. Welcome to episode 13 of the FPL Family. My name is Lee. This is Sam. Welcome to the FPL counselling session. I was just talking to Andrew Yee on Twitter and saying, "Are you joining us, Andrew?" And he said, "Yes, I'm coming. Get the chaise longue out. Get me a gin and tonic ready." He is ready for his counselling session. It feels like we need it.
I feel like we all need a little bit of FPL therapy.
It's just off one here. So,
what is this? What is game week 5?
What is this season? This season is the toughest season it's been. I genuinely don't remember, guys, and I've been playing this game, as you guys know, a flipping long time, 10, 11 years. I do not remember a season where after game week 5, my overall rank was 1.4 million. I do not remember it, guys. And not only that, but at 600k last week, flipping the wild card, thinking, right, here we go. I need to get boosted up from 600k, get back in the game. Over doubled my rank on a wild card. I don't think that's ever happened, guys. That is a season first. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you've had a terrible game week, welcome. I think most people have, and that is what we are here to do. We're here to have fun with FPL. It is a fun game. I've seen people, I'm quitting, I'm going, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm too stressed. I can't deal with it. But guys, it's a game. Enjoy it, and you've got to have enjoyed the football as well this weekend.
Well, unless you're Man City or Arsenal, and then you probably just,
possibly not quite so much. Yeah, possibly not quite so much.
Because if you're a Man City or an Arsenal fan, you've probably not enjoyed the football. You've probably had a bad FPL week.
So yes, thank you for joining.
Come and join us.
Because frankly, the last thing any of us want to talk about is FPL right now. It's just like no one wants to talk about it. But you are here and with us, guys, and we thank you very much for that. Where do we even start? I mean, what a weekend of football. Despite the FPL, and listen, there'll be some of you in the live chat, get in the comments. If you've had a good game week, if you are anywhere in the 50s or the 60s,
what's the average? 47.
I want to hear that because that is a very good, very, very good game week. If you're down in the 20s and the 30s, I want to hear that as well because that is what we are here to commiserate or celebrate together. We win together and we lose together, guys. That is what FPL is all about. But of course, we are going to be talking about all your usual stuff here on FPL Family here, 8 o'clock Sunday night. Thank you for joining us. Game week review, we're going to be talking about Norwich Man City. Of course, we're going to be talking about Norwich Man City. We're going to be talking about our game weeks, good, bad or ugly. And in my case, it was bad and ugly. Yours is pretty bad and ugly as well. But you've got players to come. There is yet salvation on the horizon.
I genuinely hope, beyond all hope, that Lanzini and McGinn get rested tomorrow.
Who's on your bench?
Well, King's my first sub with 10.
Oh, Josh King.
Yeah. And then
2 assists.
Yeah. And then Cantwell's my second.
Oh.
So there's 16.
It's so bad this year.
So Villa, coaches at Villa and at West Ham.
It's possible that your bench has got more than my team. Possible. No. Josh King 10. What did Cantwell get?
No, 16 on my bench.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. That is half of what I've got pretty much though.
You've done better than me this game week, so
right,
stop it.
That's it. You've gone up an octave. It's time to move on. Guys, let's say hello. But let's first get into the polls, guys. The little white eye in the top right-hand corner. If you've not ever been on YouTube and answered a poll, that is where you go. The little white eye above my head in the top right-hand corner. Questions this evening from our Patreon community. Thank you guys in the Slack for your questions earlier. 4 really, really good questions. First one comes from Scott Schrager. Thank you, Scott, for the question. He is saying, where now are you guys? Where are we going to be spending
Where do we go?
Our FPL funds? And frankly, I haven't got a clue. I'm actually, genuinely, I'm interested to see what the reaction is to this question because there is feasibly an argument for each of those 3, isn't there? So I'm genuinely interested to see how this goes. Big at the back, big in the middle, or big up front. Nice question from Scott. Really nice question. Next question comes from Aaron Chen. Thank you, Aaron, for the question. Good evening if you're in this evening, Aaron. Seeing how Laporte's injured, seeing how City defended against Norwich, which was flaky at best, nervous at times, didn't look good at all. Are you going to stick or are you going to twist with Man City in defence? Those of you that are on Otamendi, those of you that are on Zinchenko, could you get better value out of a 4.5 somewhere and use that extra million somewhere else? That's a nice question there from Aaron. And also in a very similar vein, United defence. So Mr. Keza, thank you for the question, Mr. Keza. He's saying United defence, sticking or twisting with that because conversely to the way that Manchester City played this weekend, United kept out Leicester. Now, there's a couple of gilt-edged chances that Leicester missed in that game, but nevertheless, United, clean sheet. So if you got off of Wan-Bissaka and you got off of Maguire, which a lot of people did on a wild card or on their 2-free transfers.
A lot of people did it for Digne
or whatever over the international break. Goodness me, here we are, United back with a clean sheet and somewhat unexpected clean sheet. I think we're all expecting maybe Leicester to find a goal or two in that game, but fair play, they got a clean sheet.
At Man United, I don't think anybody expected
absolutely,
them to do
yes,
well.
absolutely. And the final question from Mark Dorney. Thank you, Mark, for the question. Best Spurs asset, he's saying. Now, Spurs, we were on the FPL show last week. I know what you're going to say. Don't give me that look. And I sat here last week and I said Spurs will win that game, but it'll be tight. I said get some money on 0-0 half time. So when we were at my nan's house and I was playing football in my nan's garden with my little boy, and you kept shouting over 1-0 Spurs, 2-0 Spurs, 3-0 Spurs, I was like, are you having a laugh? 4-0 to Spurs after 35 minutes? Absolutely sensational stuff from Spurs. So there it is, Mark's question. What's the best Spurs asset now? Do we need to lump onto them? Kane, Son, Lamella. I think about Eriksen in there as well. Or anyone else, frankly. Because there's some nice options now in Spurs.
Yes.
For a change. And even at full back.
Kick me well.
No, even Aurier had a very, very good game, I thought, the weekend.
He did have a very good game. He said the best game I've seen him have in a Spurs shirt.
And indeed, a nice cheeky assist and a very, very good performance from a favourite of yours.
Oh, Toby!
Mr. Toby Alderweireld played very well at the weekend. So listen, guys,
he's probably the only person I'd ever leave you for.
So... Where's that come from?
Because I just love the man.
Sam, my FPL overall rank, in case you didn't listen, is 1.4 million. I've just played my wild card.
I bet he's like...
And now you're leaving me. This is not a great weekend. Were it not for Roberto Firmino...
I don't think you've got anything to worry about. I don't think Toby Alderweireld is going to come knocking on our door anytime soon.
He's a good-looking man. There's no doubt. Almost as good-looking, almost as sexual as Roberto Firmino's assist at the weekend. Did you see that little flick?
Do you know what you got to love about? What you got to love about Bobby is he's just sat there on the bench, minding his own business. Thinks, yeah, I'll come on, change the game, get a couple of assists. What have it? It's nothing, is it?
He was absolutely flamed at the weekend, guys. He was absolutely on fire.
That man's a talent, I tell you.
Absolutely on fire. You've always liked him. I mean, I've always liked him, but you've always been like, everyone talks about Salah and Mane, but you've always been quite keen on him in FPL as well,
I'm a full-on Bobby. I'm in the Bobby fan club, yeah.
Well, there we go. All right, let's say hello to a few people, guys. Thank you for joining us this evening. Lock on Kun is here. Aid is in.
Aid?
Ranting about the Gooners, Sam. Ranting.
It's lovely to have Aid back. Aid's having a bit of a fantasy nightmare as well, so he's come for
Join the club, Aid. Join the club. You're in the right place. You're amongst good company, Aid. I think it's done.
What, he's pushed the wild card?
I'd be surprised if he hasn't pushed that wild card. Let's Aid get in the comments. Tell us if you've pushed that button already, guys. If you've wild carded on the back of this horrendous game week, we want to hear from you. Get in the comments and tell us that you've pushed that wild card. FPL Popcorn is hit 74 points. 74 points. You've almost knocked your flipping tea over with that FPL Popcorn. 74 points. Very, very good indeed.
That deserves a round of applause because, quite frankly, in this game week, that is outstanding. If you've got a 70 score, well, I take my
Very nice indeed. Very nice indeed. Khalid Mustafa is here. Hello from Egypt, he says. How are you doing, Khalid? 66 points.
Oh, you get a clap as well.
Is it just us that's done badly this week then?
Maybe.
Come on, guys. I want to see some 20s and 30s. Let's have a look. Lock on Kun. I need more than a wild card, he says. He needs a miracle. He needs a miracle.
Oh, Aid.
Stealth Pano is here. Ken's from Twitter. Ken's, how are you doing? Nice talking to you earlier. 29, he says. I know, Ken's. I feel you. Absolutely feel your pain. It is one of those weeks.
Goodness me, the live chat is rolling quickly tonight.
I think people... This is...
It's a rant. This is therapy.
This is therapeutic, as Andrew Yee quite rightly pointed out on Twitter. This is very therapeutic tonight.
I've never seen a live chat run that fast.
Get it out. If you need a virtual hug, if you need to have a little cry, guys, this is the right place.
15?
Phil, wow, 15. Goodness me. James Newell, 39. Come on, guys. Get it all out. Get it all out. Shashank is in, 27. Yikes. Bryce is in. How are you doing, Bryce? FPL Telling. Josh is here and moderating. Josh, good evening. Josh. How are you doing? Got to be happy with that 1-0 win over Leicester at the weekend.
It's about all Josh is happy with, though, to be quite honest.
So I've heard. FPL is not going well, so he's got to be pretty happy with the Manchester United win, no doubt about it. Cameron Ashworth is here, 44 with Haller to play now. This is something we do need to point out. We do still have one more game. West Ham versus Villa. at Villa Park tomorrow night. A lot of FPL assets playing in that game. However,
2 of mine.
2 of yours, absolutely. And I think coming into this live stream, I was saying, I'm beating you by a point. There's some salvation from this week. And you said, well, I've got McGinn and Lanzini to play. And I thought, I've got Gilbert. Sorry, Gilbert.
Sounds like some sort of, I don't know.
Gilbert's like
It sounds
just a non-FPL entity. It's going to come up with an assistant clean sheet for Gilbert tomorrow night. Come on. I can feel it. Just like my feeling about Pepe, I can feel Gilbert doing the business.
You only got Gilbert because of Pepe as well.
No, that's another long story. No, I got Gilbert over Gilbert over Mings because I needed 0.1 to do Greenwood rather than someone that was out on loan at Leeds.
I see.
So it's peak FPL right there, isn't it? Peak FPL right there. Martin is in. Martin Tricky Swartz, how are you doing? Good to see you over in the Slack earlier, Martin. Nice to see you this evening as well. Azzy is in. Thank you for the super chat, Azzy. Gilbert sounds like a French cheese. Well, listen.
I hope he's better than French cheese.
You guys are on one tonight. I feel like the feeling in the community is one of just screw it.
Despair. It's just despair.
Screw it.
It's literally like life can't get any worse from an FPL point of view. Let's just start again.
Frank Verlinden saying Gilbert's going to rock. Don't jinx us, Lee. Well, listen, when Mr. Frank Verlinden talks, ex-FPL Family Manager a Month, people listen. And if he's got French cheese, Mr. Gilbert, yes, Frank Verlinden, we're all over that. We're all over that. FPL Rubber Ducky is in. How are you doing, Rubber Ducky? Joe Finley Badder.
Oh,
welcome,
Happy
Joe.
We've got Happy Joe for a change.
I would imagine he's pretty happy after that. Should have won, if anything,
to be
fair. Could have got something out of that.
Got some new manager bounce, didn't we?
Could have got 3 points out of that game very easily. That effort at the end that he struck straight at Leno, and Leno just happened to be diving at the right time. It was just so unlucky for Norwich. Alvin Blocks is here. Super chat from Alvin Blocks. Thank you for the super chat. Wildcard used 69 points. Got Abraham and Son and Aubameyang.
Wow.
Lovely stuff.
Now that
lovely stuff.
Is how you play your wild card.
That, is how you play your wild card. Yes, very good. Thank you for that. Gail Scheller is here. Yellow Gamer is here. Azil Salem is here. And all sorts of you guys are in this evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you're new around here, of course, hit that subscribe button. We'd love you to sub. We just went over 7k subscribers. I think maybe last week at some stage. And if you're not following us over on our Twitter, which is on the left-hand side over there, go check us out on Twitter at FPL Family as well. Just hit the 19k mark over the last couple of days. So, guys, thank you very much for the follows over there. Instagram going great as well. A couple of Insta reactions over the weekend to certainly one to Norwich and Man City.
No, we didn't have one for Norwich.
Oh, we didn't do one for Norwich and Man City. Okay.
Only because the idea of the Insta reactions, of course, is that we react as soon as the game finishes. And we kind of broke the football code, didn't we, with that? Because it was such a good game, but we had to put the kids to bed. So we paused the game.
We did like mini match of the day challenge, and you guys on Twitter will know what that is. We paused the game, phones on airplane mode, put the kids to bed, and then hit play on the game. Because I was like, it was Norwich PUKKI just got his second goal, got the goal, and I was just like, well, 3-1. We've got to see how this ends.
Yeah.
Got to see how this ends. So we had to pause.
So we did the challenge. So we missed that one. And then we were out for the early game today. So we didn't have one for that. But we had a couple for Liverpool and we had one for the Arsenal game we've just watched. But yeah, there'll be one tomorrow night.
Very good. So guys, thank you for joining us on Instagram as well. At FPL Family over there. Right, Sam. There is the Instagram. Give it a quick flash on the screen. Lovely. Right. On with the games. Let's have... There's only one place to start. Only one place to start. We have to go
White Hart Lane.
Straight to Carrow Road. We'll go there later. We have to go. Let's start there. We have to go to Carrow Road and have and talk about Norwich versus Manchester City. What a game, guys! What a game! Your thoughts on the game? Any thoughts you want, FPL or otherwise? Go for it. What was it? Tell me about your feeling going into the game, because KDB benched. Sterling started, Aguero started. Your only City attacker was KDB. So you're going into that game with just Zinchenko representing your FPL team. How did you feel about
that? I said to you, didn't I, when we were driving back from your nan's just before the game kicked off, absolutely terrified.
Yes.
I was like,
understandable. This
is a disaster. The only thing I can hope now is that they get like 3-0 up, but it's not Sterling or Aguero. And then KDB stays on the bench and Salah as my vice captain will take the captaincy, and then that will mean I'm stuck with Josh King coming on. Actually, that would have been lovely in hindsight. So if Pep could stop being such an absolute troll, that would be lovely. Yeah, so terrified. And then, and totally expected, sorry Norwich fans, but totally expected Norwich to go out and do what they did, play at City.
Play.
Because they didn't have any defence.
I got so much time for that. So much time for Daniel Farke and the way that he just stuck to his philosophy. They don't know how else to play, so they're like, right, well, we'll just play. And if we concede a couple of goals, then we'll try and score a few as well. And I got so much time for that.
But don't you also think that they genuinely just didn't have a defence, really? So it was a case of, well, we can't just rely on the defence. We've got to attack. We've just got to go at them. And what I loved about that, and it was something that we did as well when we went to Man City a couple of weeks ago. Now, all right, we were very jammy to come away with the point, and Norwich fully deserved the points this weekend. But the similarities between Spurs and Norwich in the way that they played against City was that we equally don't know how to just sit back and defend, so we'll go and play. And maybe, actually, we're seeing the way to play against Man City. It's to turn up and properly play.
The difference is they had Laporte, though, against you, whereas against Norwich, they didn't have Laporte. And they look noticeably more nervous. They look noticeably less comfortable on the ball. And just before you go on, a super chat from Crackerjack. Thank you, Crackerjack, for the super chat. For the super chat, Crackerjack. That's actually quite hard to say. Yeah. Thank you. I've already mispronounced Crackerjack's name a couple of times on earlier streams, so we're not going to go back there. But thank you for the super chat. He's a nice point about PUKKI. We're absolutely going to come to PUKKI in Norwich in a minute, but I just want to get Sam's thoughts on Manchester City.
So it was really interesting to watch because it was a totally unexpected result. I wasn't anticipating that.
People
Norwich,
are predicting 5, 6, 7 nils, right?
My honest thought was that Man City would win that 6-1. 5-1, 6-1, maybe 7-1. Like, I thought it would be a bit of a whitewash, but I thought PUKKI would get something out of the game because his form is just too good. Plus, Man City have been wobbly at the back at best. Even with Laporte, they've been known for a wobble when they've conceded. Without Laporte, I didn't think that they'd be as good defensively, and therefore I thought there was always scope for Norwich to get a goal from the game.
And the goals did come from defensive errors from the player that we're all thinking is almost like the direct replacement at left centre-back for Laporte. What Otamendi is doing there, dwelling on the ball like that. And we're going to come to the performance of the guy that nicked it off him, Emi Buendia, in a second, because he was phenomenal, by the way.
Heroic.
But Otamendi faffing about like you wouldn't believe, and then there was panic and John Stones slips over. What is going on in that back line?
So one of the things that had not entered my head as of yet, apart from, with the Mendy thing playing out in a little bit in the background, but at no point had it occurred to me to not have a Man City defender. Even though their defence hasn't been that great, I was kind of still like, well, it's Man City, a bit like it's Liverpool, you go for one of their defensive assets. But I sat and watched that game last night and thought, without Laporte, they look like they could concede every game.
Something that was interesting for me, though, and we said it in the FPL, you said it on the pod, but we also said it on the FPL show last week, was that the reason we were backing Man City to continue to be defensively reasonably solid was that the other team just wouldn't have the ball. Now, without KDB in the middle of the park, they don't keep the ball as well. Clearly, he's that sort of player. He's going to tick it over, keep the ball, and if the opposition haven't got it... Now, I'm not saying Norwich, even if KDB was playing, the way that Norwich play, I would have backed them to score, hence I started PUKKI in my FPL team.
Yeah.
But once KDB's in there and controlling the game and keeping possession and holding onto the ball, that takes the pressure off the defence, and perhaps they don't make so many mistakes. So from that perspective, I don't know whether I'm nervous about owning Otamendi now, or whether you're nervous about Zinchenko. Give me your thoughts. You keep Zinchenko now? What are you thinking?
No,
you're thinking
he's
sell?
Gone. He's gone.
Transferred him out already?
No, not yet, because I'm getting through Champions League.
All right.
But absolutely nailed on. That is my transfer this week.
Zinchenko out for you this week?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't trust the City defence to keep clean sheets, and for me, I don't trust Zinchenko to get any attacking points, and that's the difference. If I held Otamendi, I think I'd feel a bit differently, because what we saw from Otamendi yesterday was plenty of opportunities where he could have got attacking points.
There was actually a couple of headers, one in the box from a Sterling cross, I think, which is a Sterling captain, Otamendi owner, would have been amazing, but Krul pulled off a nice save. So I agree with you, there's some threat there from Otamendi at centre-half, but Zinchenko doesn't, despite the fact he had, and I noticed this, touches in the opponent's half, second best in the entire game week, only second to Robertson.
Their assists of the assists, or their sideways passes,
okay.
they're not going anywhere, and they're not going to lead to him getting attacking points, in my opinion. And so I'm looking at Zinchenko and thinking,
City at home to Watford, game week 6.
Have you seen Watford today? Have you seen the new manager bounce?
They surely.
Have you seen the confidence that Norwich?
Yeah.
Don't you think that Norwich taking points off of Man City is going to inspire the likes of Watford and all of those other clubs to just go and have a go? Go and have a go at them and see what happens.
Maybe. I'm not sure Watford have got the players to have a go in the same way that they've got PUKKI, Cantwell, Buendia. Buendia was that obscene. I just don't see that Watford have Andre Gray.
I just feel like
Delafeu maybe.
I just feel like if I'm going to invest that much in a player, there needs to be more than just the potential for a clean sheet, because the potential for a clean sheet can easily go with one mistake. So like Trent, the potential for that man to really overachieve is huge. So you hold him, because even if the clean sheets aren't there, he's likely to get other points. I don't see it being the same with Zinchenko, and therefore I'm going to transfer.
Very good. All right, well there we go. Zinchenko absolutely on the chopping block for you, Sam, this week, and we're going to come to.
Unless there's a major injury crisis elsewhere, then he might get a stay, but I can't see it.
All right, okay, all right. We're going to talk about Norwich in just a second. Let's hear what you guys are saying about Manchester City in the live chat. Hakeem Bong, Sterling going to score a hat-trick versus Watford, mark my words.
Sterling needs to do something.
Needs to. That's back-to-back blanks now for Sterling, despite obviously the good performances for England over the international break.
It's because he was playing alongside Kane.
Back-to-back blanks now for Sterling, and to be honest, I'm not in any way thinking about transferring him out ahead of Watford at home, of course, but I had a tweet conversation with Dave Monday yesterday, and we both agreed that we're just keeping an eye on him now. That's back-to-back blanks. He was very, very wide. He was very, very close to that touchline. He didn't do much of his trademark cutting in and shooting at the weekend. A little bit on the periphery of the game as well. Came into it a bit in the last 10 or 15 minutes. Shock was better when KDB was on the pitch, but then the whole team was better when KDB was on the pitch. So, Football Kid is saying Sterling out. Well, no. FPL don't take the L. Sterling out. No, not for me. Not ahead of Watford at home, no.
And I wouldn't either. I mean, from a Sterling non-owner, it is genuinely painful to watch Manchester City every week.
He weren't that good, though.
No, but it's that constant, you just know that he's got it in him to get 3.
He did hit the post, didn't he, as Amesh is saying. Yeah.
And you sit there every game and it's like, ugh. And for the last 2 weeks, I've really felt like I've dodged a huge bullet with Sterling. But it won't continue to be that way. So if I had him, I'd be still holding him. Okay,
all right. So let's talk about Norwich then, because they were sensational in that game. Sensational. Yeah. And the way that they attacked, the way they moved it and transitioned it through the lines was brilliant. And we got to talk about PUKKI. Let's talk about him briefly. We've both got him in our sides. A lot of people thinking about, or indeed taking him out over the international break based on the blank that he had in game week 4. And he did have a pretty bad game in game week 4, right? Didn't get anything and looked a bit off it. Back with a bang against Man City. For me, the guy, and as soon as I saw that hat-trick against Newcastle, I was like, this, even Anfield, game week 1. He was intelligent. The way he finished that goal was brilliant. Then he backs it up with a hat-trick. You're like, well, this guy's good. And the more you watch him, the more you understand how intelligent he is. The assist, actually, for Cantwell at the weekend was better than the goal he scored. Better than the goal. Because he could shoot there, but he's got the intelligence and the he just understands his surroundings. He knows that Cantwell's in a better position, and he just dug it out perfect for a tap-in. So PUKKI looks, to me, one to hold on to for a very long time.
They were talking, weren't they, PUKKI was talking in the post-match interview about his connection with both Cantwell and Buendia, and how solid it is. And he was talking about how, it really helps because obviously he's played with Cantwell's come through the ranks, hasn't he? He's been with him for, the relationship's developed, and he was talking about how Buendia and he speak Spanish to each other, and so adds a whole other element to
I noticed Cantwell got a call up to the England under-21s over the international break as well, so I don't think I appreciate just how young this kid is, but look at the potential he's got. Look at the trust that Farke is putting in him.
Yeah.
He looks like a proper player to me.
And I think, for me, Norwich defensively are what they are. I don't think you would ever invest in a Norwich defender unless it was just for cheap. No. Unless it was just for cheap enabling qualities that you picked one.
Even then, there's better cheap ones out there
for sure. But I think you look at that Norwich team, and obviously Cantwell and PUKKI are are kind of a bit... I honestly think they're becoming no-brainers to have them because they're...
Well, Samatar is saying Pukki is the Jimenez of this season.
Yes,
I think that's spot on.
Yeah,
I think so far that is absolutely holding true.
He is. And I think Cantwell is a no-brainer because he's cheap and he's, the confidence that man is exuding every week. It's just like he just seems to be kind of growing in stature and growing in confidence every game. And to go out against Man City and play the way that he did, unbelievable from him.
Very, very good. Yeah, nice comment from Azzy as well. What I like about Norwich assets is they are so unselfish. Yeah, they do play for each other. They've got Fark, the way that Fark goes about managing that team and even the celebration at the end of the game, you see that. All four sides of the stadium doing the olays and everything. It's very... Forgive this comment, but it's very Klopp-esque, right? The way that he's got the team and the players playing for each other and the way he's got the crowd behind them as well. I know that was a pretty unusual result of the weekend, and of course that it's going to look like they're unified, but they've had a great start to the season, Norwich. Some fantastic performances. Very, really none of us had Pukki in our Game Week 1 team or Cantwell because we're looking at it and going, well... They
played Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea now.
Absolutely.
And that's,
absolutely.
When you consider... And this is the thing for me, when people started talking about getting off of Pukki, it's like, but they've got, they were going to play Man City that weekend, and it's like, but they've got 3 of their hardest fixtures out of the way already. So there's coming up to a nice green spell for Norwich. Why would you get rid of him before then? Not to mention the fact he's going to cost you so much more to get. But shout out to Buendia as well, who I thought was amazing.
Yes, I'm glad you brought him up. 6 million, so not had any price rises yet. And I think that's mainly because a lot of us have got Pukki, and if you've got Cantwell as well, then you don't really want to go for the treble up, I don't think.
No.
So... Do you think that Buendia is worth the extra 1.3 over Cantwell? It's hard, isn't it? It could be a really nice differential because he was fantastic.
Okay, so I think for me, my issue is if you've got Pukki, you're often sitting in my camp, which is that when they come up against these harder teams, the likes of Liverpool, Man City, I feel, I won't bracket you all in the same boat as me, but I feel very much like I can't play them both. So I drop Cantwell to the bench and I play Pukki.
Yeah.
And that's fine because Cantwell is 4.5 or whatever he is. And it's fine because, you can drop a 4.5. And yes, you feel absolutely devastated when he scores a goal and he's sat on your bench. But you can do that. I think with Buendia... If he's 6, he's probably taking your 4th midfielder spot as opposed to your 5th.
Yeah,
and therefore you're probably playing him. Now, do you want to double up with Norwich? Probably not in those big... Well, actually, now, why not? But you probably think there's better options elsewhere that I could play.
Yeah, okay. No, it's tough. And a nice comment again by Azzy there. Buendia is like Maddison and Cantwell being like Tielemans. So it's a bit like last season when you had all these nice Leicester options in midfield. Suddenly Norwich starting to come up with a few decent options. And you're right. Defensively, forget it. And anything that looks even remotely defensive in midfield, forget it. But those front 3, those attacking 3... absolutely worthy of your consideration. We've spent tons of time on Norwich and Man City, but I think warranted, right? What a game. And despite the fact that, many of us captained either Kevin De Bruyne or Sterling, and there's a lot of captain blanks out there this game week, hence the overall low average. Despite that, you got to just admire how good that game was if you watched it. It was a fantastic game. Another good game with tons and tons of goals was Wolves 2, Chelsea 5. Now, quietly, or maybe not even that quietly, Frank Lampard is building an absolutely sensational team at Chelsea, isn't he? I mean, we sat here a few weeks ago and it's all, well, they lost to United on the first game week. He's got a lot to learn. It's a transition year. All of a sudden, they go to Wolves and win 5-2. Tammy Abraham's finding form and confidence. Mason Mount's looking like a great option. Even defensively, I know Tony Rudiger, he came back. I think he went off with a bit of a knock, didn't he? But they're starting to get some players back. Even the fabled Mr. Marcus Alonso is back and playing left wing. So
and got an assist.
What is going on at Chelsea? It's good times at the moment. Going to Liverpool next weekend, or I think Liverpool have to go to Chelsea next weekend. That is suddenly a bit of a banana skin for Liverpool potentially.
Yeah. Well,
defensively still leave a little bit to be desired. Chelsea maybe, but they're scoring goals for fun.
They are.
How good was Tomori's goal, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely excellent. I think it's a really tough one. Those of you that listen to me on the pod and on the FPL show this week will have heard me numerous times say how much I liked Tammy Abraham, and I came very, very close to bringing him in on Friday night. Very close. And And eventually I was like, no, follow your strategy. You'll feel better for it next week when you've got your 2 free transfers and you can make a proper educated decision about who's going and whatnot. So I didn't. And actually when those goals just kept going in, it felt like a nightmare. But I think what we've seen from Abraham is him to kind of solidify himself as Frank's number one striker. Now, all right, took a bit of a knock at the end of that game and we need to just be aware of that. Obviously, we've got the Europa League this week. Oh, no, sorry, Chelsea fans. We've got the Champions League
for Chelsea, absolutely.
This week. So let's see if he plays in the Champions League. Let's see where we are with that injury. My gut is that if he's feeling something at the end of that game, he won't play in the Champions League.
So give me a view on... So obviously, Tammy Abraham, yes, he's getting all the headlines. He's scoring loads of goals. That's good. A lot of the guys are saying, and I noticed this, and here we go, I know what you're going to say, his XG isn't particularly good, so he's overperforming his XG right now. So
I hate XG.
Does that mean he's clinical and therefore a very good striker, or is he getting a bit lucky with the goals that he's scoring?
No, I don't rate XG at all. I think for me, I don't...
He passed the eye test for me. The way he was finishing those goals, clinical.
The XG thing for me doesn't even come into my decisions. I don't even look at it because it's more about how they perform and when you watch them, what they look like. Now, Tammy Abraham for the last couple of weeks has looked absolutely excellent. The relationship that he's built with Frank, you can see that when he celebrates the goals. You can hear it when he's talking in post-match interviews.
The sort of goals he's getting as well, sorry to interrupt, the sort of goals he's getting, there's no penalties in there.
No.
There's no wonder goals. No. There's no lucky deflections.
They're all the sort of goals as FPL managers would want.
Poacher goals. Yes. He's in and around the areas. That's where you want your FPL assets. Yeah. I'm struggling to find a reason to exclude him from my team right now. I must admit, he looks very good.
And I kind of feel like he is, and it's different, but I feel like it's a bit similar to what we did with PUKKI. So at the start of the season, we all went, all fixtures are terrible, let's not get on PUKKI. And then we quickly had to kind of, reverse that decision.
Change our minds, yeah,
And
absolutely.
I kind of feel like it's a bit the same with Tammy Abraham. Like, for me, it's a bit like, well... I didn't really want him ahead of Wolves because Wolves are a decent side defensively and they played well against the big six last season, particularly at home. So I don't really necessarily want him for that. And then he's got Liverpool next and that's a really tough game. I don't really want... But why?
At some stage, it's like, you've got to go for him, haven't you?
Because he's scoring against these big sides. He put Wolves to the sword yesterday. I see no reason why he can't score against Liverpool next week because Liverpool don't look defensively as solid as I would want them to be. So I don't see any reason why he can't score. The only thing that currently is putting me off Abraham is the flag, which is why I'm waiting to see where we are at the back end of the week before I do anything.
Absolutely.
But I really like him and I feel like I really want him. And I really want him.
All right, okay. And the fixtures after Liverpool, we keep talking about this Liverpool game, but as you rightly say, Liverpool not keeping a lot of clean sheets, a lot of mistakes still at the back, sadly. Or indeed wonder goals from left backs, which we were completely not expecting at the weekend. But the Chelsea fixtures after Liverpool are Brighton at home, Southampton away, Newcastle at home, Burnley away. I mean, even for those two home games, Brighton and Newcastle at home, some lovely fixtures.
There's some goals
lovely fixtures for Tammy Abraham. And indeed, his partner in crime, Mason Mount, who obviously they went through the Chelsea ranks together, through the England ranks together. We were a bit unsure at the beginning of the season who was going to take that spot. Would it be Barkley, Kovacic? Would Jorginho go forward a bit? Right now, he ain't leaving Mason Mount out of that team. Mason Mount looks absolutely sensational. And I know he got the goal in the 94th, 95th minute, so if you're a non-Mason Mount owner, you might be sitting there going, oh, that was jammy. If you got Mount, that's jammy. Let me tell you guys, on the highlights, Mount could have had 2 assists because he was the one that sort of played the ball for Tammy a lot of the time, but the defender might have just got a little nick on it or something, or the defender maybe made it go the other way, so it doesn't count as an FPL assist. And he missed some big chances. Yeah. I would like to see what Mount's XG was for the weekend because he actually could have had more than that one goal. So at 6.7, maybe even 6.8 now, are you considering him over Tammy or both even?
No, I don't. So at the moment I don't want both. And I feel like I am, and I don't know why, but for me, FPL has always been it's always been a gut decision. I kind of trust it and I go with it. And for me, my gut says to go with Tammy. Now that doesn't mean I think that Mount is a bad pick because I definitely don't. It's just that I don't. I think there are so many decent picks out there at the moment. Like I'm happy with my midfield, and this is where the crux of it lies. Is I'm happy with my midfield mostly, apart from there's a couple of things that I would like to change, but nothing that would make me want to get Mount, because I'm probably going to have to lose Lanzini to do that, and I certainly don't feel like I want to lose Lanzini.
6.4 in the game, Mount. So the guys are correcting me. Although you're correcting me, guys, I don't think it's long before he's up in the 6'6", 6'7" bracket. So if he's 6'4", nice price. I think you need to get on him. Cool. All right, let's move on. So Chelsea, absolutely, we're looking at. Let's look at Spurs then. 4-0 in that game. It's a game that I thought Palace would dig in. I thought they'd be difficult to break down. But bringing Sacco into that centre-half position, I thought, watching the Match of the Day highlights, that he had a bit of a stinker, Sacco, particularly on the first goal where I think it was your man Toby Alderweireld, what seemed like a fairly routine ball over the top. Just Sacco gets caught underneath it, and Son, to be fair to him, or maybe even Aurier, I think, got the ball to cross it to Son. Looked really, really good. Spurs, really good. Palace, all right, defensively a bit abject, but Son looking like the real deal.
I think it's interesting, isn't it, with Palace, because as I was talking about on the FPL show when we did our bit on defenders, they had the best defence in the league going into this game. They kicked 2 clean sheets. They were looking solid. And then this game popped up. Now, it's strange because losing Martin Kelly and getting Sacco back, you would have thought would have strengthened their defence as opposed to weakening it, because, Sacco is one of their kind of key defensive players. So you would have thought that would have strengthened it. But I think sometimes that change, particularly when it's been going well, it's just a bit unsettling. It's learning. It's a bit like Otamendi, I guess, with Man City as well.
I think you're doing your forwards a bit of a disservice, though, because every time Son got the ball, even when Spurs attacked and Son didn't have the ball, his off-the-ball speed and energy is just awesome. And I do think, and you may disagree with me, I don't know, but tell me about your thoughts on, because I know what you're like, you're going to have a Spurs asset in your FPL team.
Of course.
Are you thinking about re-engineering your team away from Kane and towards Son, or are you trying to fit them both in? Or?
No, not both. Okay. Even I'm not that goggled.
No. But
that's not a right word.
Can be now. It's
Goggled.
fine. Your Spurs goggles.
I think for me, so it was interesting, wasn't it? I think it's the first time that we've seen Spurs since the window shut. Yeah. And there was always going to be, Poch came out in the week and said we've had a
clear the air.
We've had a love-in.
Yeah,
they've all had a hug. We've had a hug.
A bit like this evening.
Yeah. We've come in. They've got in the live chat. They've all had a live chat hug. And for me, this game was really important because it was coming off the back of 2 quite disappointing results against Newcastle and in the North London derby, where I didn't think we were great. So there had to be a change, and it was really interesting for me to see the way we came out. We don't come out of games like that. We don't start games with the ferocity that we did against Palace yesterday.
Yeah.
And
he did. He got them wound. I think he got them wound up.
Yeah. In the past, it's been the second half that we've won games. We don't win games 4-0 in the first half. We just don't. But I think there's an element of obviously Champions League in the week. Yeah. So,
but there's Kane and Son dynamic then in your team.
I was getting there, but I think that what was intriguing to me is to watch them play in the way that I now think we will. So I think Dele Alli's got a bit of a fight on his hands now to get back into the side. Son was his genius self, I think, in that game. His movement was fantastic. He's always like that on the back of international break.
Right.
Always comes back and plays really well. Kane, I didn't think was bad in that game. So I had a lot of messages yesterday going, Kane only got one. How can you only get 1 assist in 4 goals?
1 assist. Expected goals of 0.03.
But forget the expected goals because it's a beep stat that I hate.
Okay.
And if you watch the game, he was involved, he was active. For me, knowing that we've got Leicester next, Kane and Leicester, I went banged on all week about King and playing against Everton and how good the stats are for that, and then I benched him. And what did he do? Kane and Leicester, it's the same. I just can't bring myself to lose him. Having said that, at the back of the Leicester game, there is a real possibility, because there are some such lovely cheap strikers who are doing so well at the moment, the likes of Abraham.
Kane down to Tammy, and then which midfielder up to Son? I can see your brain working. I know how you work.
Yeah, but that's where my problem lies, because as I said to you
McGinn
before,
or Lanzini?
But which one? And why?
Tomorrow night we'll decide.
No, it won't, because I'm not doing anything before the Leicester game, because I won't lose Kane before Leicester.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. Nice.
But I really want Toby too.
Oh, goodness me, do you as well? Oh, right, okay. Well, listen, I think
I love Toby.
a shout out for Aurier. I thought Aurier played very, very well on
Yeah,
the
but I
wing.
don't know who's consistently going to play.
Don't know if he's nailed on there, but at 4'9", is he worth a punt? Maybe. But for me, the one I got my eye on is absolutely Son Heung-min. I think that even in the interview, as he came on Match the Day afterwards, he came out and said, he was almost a bit like, I'm pleased we got the points,
gutted,
but I've got my eye on a hat trick. I've never had a hat trick for Spurs, so I'd like to get one of those.
You could tell he was
and
gutted.
you're like, amazing performance, 2 goals, and he still thinks, he's like, well, I want a hat trick though,
Yeah.
So there, guys, is an FPL asset and a Spurs forward that is really hungry for goals and hat tricks, and one, guys, that you should absolutely keep your eyes on, Son Heung-min. Let's talk about Liverpool 3, Newcastle 1, lunchtime kickoff on Saturday. Liverpool very, very, very flat to start the game with 30 minutes gone, and actually
quiet, wasn't it?
It was
so quiet.
It was a post-international break lunchtime kickoff. Standard game, right?
Yeah.
It was really poor, and actually Newcastle sat back, had a game plan, hit us on the counter attack. Don't know what Trent's doing for the goal for Willems, but it's not just a nice strike; it's a very, very nice strike by Willems. But Trent didn't really cover himself in glory in terms of the way he defended that. But nevertheless. Then Firmino comes on for Origi, which was enforced. I think Klopp wanted to rest Firmino for the majority of that game. He might have made an appearance late on. But with Origi going off, Firmino come on, changed the game. The guy's just unbelievable.
I love him.
Completely changed the game for Mane and Salah as well. And the second assist that he got for the Salah goal, nice finish by Mo, of course. And if you captained Mo this weekend, then fair play, because that was the right choice in the end over a City player. But what an assist from Firmino. Beautiful.
The interesting thing about watching both the Liverpool and the Man City games this weekend was who their kind of key man for making things tick are. And we saw with both of them, KDB was benched, Firmino was benched, and neither side started with the same level of intensity and the same level of play that we would normally expect to see from Liverpool Man City. When those two players came on, they made a massive difference to the way they played, but particularly Firmino. I just think that Firmino is becoming, and I've said before, and I still urge a bit of caution with Firmino, because from an FPL point of view, he is a streaky player, and he will go through spells where he gets assists and goals, and then from an FPL perspective, he kind of goes off the boil a little bit. Because he starts assisting assists and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But from a Liverpool point of view, the guy is amazing.
Yeah,
he's by far your best player. By far.
At the moment, he is keeping it ticking over. He's absolute class. A word for the defenders. I know a lot of you guys are still on the Liverpool double up at the back, or some of you even the treble up. I know the guys at Planet FPL Pod are trebled up, and they've got no intention, they say on their pod every week, of changing that.
Really?
And I think over the course of a season, I think that'll deliver you some returns. There's no doubt about it. But you lose the benefit
Salah?
of having a Salah or a Mane. And I know that they're twice as expensive. I get all of that. But Salah's looking now like he's a pretty good... No, not looking like. He is a very good captaincy option.
Yes.
So I think I would maybe urge a bit of caution on the treble up. If you're doubled up, I feel like that's just a bit unlucky. I mean, Robertson got the assist at the weekend. Could have easily had a goal as well. Trent Alexander-Arnold the same, actually, except didn't get the assist. A 2-pointer for Trent. But looked very, very dangerous. Crosses in and around the box, creating chances, doing Trent things as usual. And even the shot he had that came off of Dubravka's backside, it deflected wide. It could easily have deflected in. An inch towards the other bit of his backside, it goes in rather than off. So easily could have gone in.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think I had a lot of unhappy people going, "Oh, I did my wild card and I swapped Robbo for Trent."
Yeah.
It's not a bad decision to look.
No.
But with Liverpool, you pick a defender and you just stay there, because you can't keep switching around between them, because at the end of the day, those kids they're always going to get points. Robbo and Trent, they will get points across the course of the season, and it will about level out by the end. So you just pick one and you stick with them, because if you start jumping ship every 5 minutes, then you'll miss the points.
And I sort of feel the same about Mane and Salah as well.
Yes,
I know Mane's obviously won the game week in terms of the head-to-head between those two guys. But on another day, the basic what was GBH on Matip in the box, how VAR, I don't know how that's not picked up that foul. But if it does, Salah takes the penalty, he gets a couple of goals, possibly the 3 bonus points, and it's a different story, guys. So I think whoever you're on, stick with him. I noticed actually Salah picking up a couple of bonus points,
nice, right?
Which was nice. We didn't see that often last season. What would happen was Salah would get his goal, but then not get the bonus points. So I wonder whether,
he's passing the ball a bit more though.
maybe his pass completion rate is a bit better. I don't know, guys. Get in the comments. Tell us what you think.
If you look at his creativity stats, they're better this year.
Right.
When you look at the ICT index, his creativity is improved, and as a result of that, that will improve his BAP stats. Now, his BAP stats.
I like that.
Now, it won't just be that, but that will help.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, certainly.
And influence, I think, is up as well.
Very welcome 2 bonus points for his owners. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
where else do we need to go? We need to rush through the rest of these games. We need to have a talk about Vicarage Road, and we need to probably spend longer than 42 seconds, I should say.
God, we don't have to spend 42
Not
minutes,
42 minutes on Watford versus Arsenal.
We spent a lot of time on Watford on Thursday night.
It's an interesting game of 2 halves, wasn't it? Because Arsenal were, the better side in the first half, but not like they were cruising. They weren't miles better. I thought Watford were playing okay, but Arsenal had a couple of chances and Aubameyang's clinical, right? 2-0 at half time. You're thinking, well, that's it. If Arsenal, I was thinking if Watford scored before half time, could make it interesting in the way that Kun did against Norwich, but they didn't. Got to 2-0, and I just thought that's game over. And then something changed at half time. I don't know what Quique Sanchez Flores said at half time. I don't know what Unai Emery said at half time. But not only did you get a massive improvement in Watford in the second half, but the degradation in Arsenal was terrible. And yet another casualty from this new playing it out from your goal kick. You can pass it to a defender thing, which we saw Otamendi suffer from at Carrow Road. The same has now happened to Socrates. Now, I'm not surprised that it's happened to Socrates. Of all of the defenders in the Premier League that was going to happen to, I probably would have said Socrates. So Arsenal, as usual, not looking great defensively. Despite at half-time us thinking, well, here's a clean sheet and possibly some bonus points for the likes of Kolasinac.
Who did get the assist.
He did get the assist, and Maitland-Niles looked all right as well. So at half-time, I did even have a look at what Maitland-Niles' price was. And then about 10 minutes into the second half, I quickly forgot it because I just thought, what are you doing looking up Arsenal defenders' prices? I still think the Arsenal defence is a no-go zone.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because, the Arsenal fixtures are really good. And I've said numerous times over the last 3 weeks that I want to have an Arsenal player in my side. So the Arsenal fixtures are good when I say I want to get an Arsenal player in. But it's become really tough because Aubameyang realistically is the only one for me at the moment that is performing from an FPL point of view consistently enough that you would get them in.
But the thing with Albert is you pay your money, you take your chance, right? If you're going to have an Arsenal player, you either take a bit of a punt. We're going to come to Pepe in a minute, and indeed Ceballos we're going to talk about. But if you pay your 11 million for Aubameyang, you expect a couple of goals, don't you?
Yeah, well, absolutely. But I think, and I think from the majority of FPL owners, it's very hard to have Aubameyang if you want to have these other big hitters that we've been talking about in the middle. So he's a tough one to get into your team. But then Pepe and Ceballos, they are much easier to work in in some ways, particularly if you've still got your wild card.
You want to work him in based on what you've seen today?
So that's my issue, is that up until the game today, I was all about working Ceballos into my team. That was the way I was going to go with Arsenal. It's like, right, I feel like, at, 5.7, I think? He's a nice price point. I feel like everything I've seen from him has been positive in terms of the impact of his attitude on games and all that kind of stuff. But then today, 59 minutes, dragged off. Well,
but he was ineffective because of the fact that Ozil was playing. I mean, Ozil was in that number 10, and I think when we saw, we see the Arsenal team sheet before kickoff, you think, there's Ceballos, brilliant. He's going to be in that number 10 behind the front, front 2 or 3. And then you look down, you're like, Ozil's there. So where's Ceballos going to play? And all of a sudden, he was in a position that, as FPL managers, we don't really want him in. Hooked on the 59th minute, as you say. I still like him. I still like the look of him. On the hour that he was on the pitch, I thought he was reasonably creative. I thought he was okay. That was an okay game. But I wonder whether he's going to be one of those FPL assets that assists the assist a little bit like a Modric-y sort of player. I don't know. The jury is still out a little bit for me on Ceballos. I wasn't sure on him.
I just feel really uneasy. And I know you've got Pepe, and you can tell me what you think in a minute. But I feel uneasy not owning an Arsenal asset going into these fixtures that they have at the moment.
So I feel uneasy not owning Aubameyang going into these fixtures.
So even with Pepe?
So Pepe didn't do anything today to suggest that was a good punt on my wild card. Now listen, I put him in on the wild card because I felt like my wild card was really boring. Of all these boring options like Mason Mount, And all these boring options that I thought were a bit template. Well, listen, they're template for a reason. But I thought, well, let's do something a bit different and put Pepe in there. Now, I did think Pepe would do all right. I'm not going to take him out ahead of Villa at home because that's a nice fixture, and Arsenal are far better at home as well. So
Yes,
I'm not going to remove him by any stretch of imagination. And if he doesn't do anything against Villa, if he's unlucky and doesn't get any FPL points, that's different. But today, he wasn't even really unlucky. He was a bit peripheral. He stayed far too wide. He was a bit like Sterling's performance, actually. He wasn't really cutting in and doing anything dangerous. And the opportunities that he did get to shoot on goal, not that good. Didn't even test the keeper. Went well wide, to be honest with you. So, no, not impressed. Not impressed with Nicola Pepe today.
So, if he doesn't perform against Villa, to Son, you will go?
Well, possibly. Although I do think that, it depends on how Aubameyang gets on in that Villa game. Because if Aubameyang gets more goals against Villa, Arsenal's run, as we've said before, looks phenomenal. Lacazette out for a few weeks. Aubameyang in that central role is a captain option, in my opinion. I think he's captainable in that position, especially at home, especially when he's through the middle on his own. I think he's a captain option, and on that basis, it could be Pepe down to a Mount and then somebody up to Aubameyang. Maybe. Who knows? But you've got to have a look at the next... When I played my wildcard, I thought, well, he's going to get at least 2 games. And the reason I say at least 2 games is because, obviously, after the Liverpool game, Chelsea start to go into a nice run of fixtures. From game week 9, Leicester start to go on a nice run of fixtures. So in the next couple of weeks... Pepe, if he doesn't start pulling his finger out against the likes of Aston Villa at home and the games they've got after that, then yes, he might be on the chopping block. I was expecting more, but not going to knee-jerk him out. I got him on my wild card for a reason. Thought he'd be a good, reasonable punt based on what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Let's see what he's like next game week. Let's see.
I still think that getting an Arsenal player is the right thing to do.
Yes, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But it's Aubameyang, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
it's Aubameyang. Who else would you put your trust in?
Well, no, I agree with you, but it's
if you want to cover Arsenal, which is a horrible phrase, Ceballos at 5'7" is maybe as much money as you'd want to spend. But would you buy anybody else in that Arsenal team right now?
No.
Not going to buy anybody else here. Don't think Ozil? Absolutely no chance.
No, because I'd rather have because the way the performances have gone this weekend, there's a lot of players that are below Ceballos' price that have performed and got fantasy points.
All right, okay. Watford, for their part, again, second half looked like a totally different team.
I mean, it was really interesting, wasn't it? Because I talked when I did the pod with James about Watford, and we were talking about somebody needed to stand up, and I kind of put my money on it being Gray, simply on the basis that Delafeu was dropped last game week and I didn't kind of know where his head was. But I think what we've seen is that, new managers come in, put him back in the team. Today, 7 shots, 4 shots on target, 7 take-ons, 8 chances created and an assist. We have seen nothing.
That was fast. Say that again.
7 shots on target, 7
take-ons, shots from Delafeu, 4 shots on target.
Yep, 7 take-ons, 8 chances created and an assist.
Jesus.
Now, over the first 4 game weeks of the season, we saw nothing. No, we've not seen any of that, have we? At all from Delafeu. And all right, he only played 8 minutes last week, but I think... we always see some new manager bounce. I felt that this was an opportunity for Watford to score goals because Arsenal can't defend. I didn't expect Watford to get anything out of the game. I thought Arsenal would win, but I did think Watford could score goals.
Okay. Joe Finley-Badder says, Delafeu finally delivered for his 2 owners, him and Kunkaram. They're the only 2 people
and
in
you
FPL
needed
that have got him.
To be fair, Kun, bless him, he really did need it this week, didn't he? He was having a bit of a nightmare
Needed
yesterday.
that Delafeu assist.
But I still don't... I mean, I don't know, Joe. You're better placed than me to say this because you were almost certainly at the game today. But I don't feel like I want to invest in Delafeu yet. Still, even
they've got Man City away next, so clearly not. But
even so, I just feel like the new manager bounce is great, and you start to see things. But I want to see consistency from that new manager bounce.
Okay, all right. Any more games you want to cover? Do we want to talk about Digne? We don't really, do we? But Callum Wilson showing some outrageous consistency with his FPL returns this season. And finally with a haul, he's ticking over at 5 points a game. Now he's got 2 goals in the game at the Vitality today. And of course some bonus points on the back of those 2 goals. So should we be reconsidering Callum Wilson?
I mean, I don't know. I was all
it's either him or Tammy Abraham, isn't it, at that sort of price bracket?
I was all over Josh King out. It was going to be Josh King and Zinchenko out this week. Now what am I supposed to do with Josh King?
This is the thing.
Every time I get to a point where I'm going to get rid of him, He gets fantasy points.
But this is the thing, guys, isn't it? There is so many nice options in FPL this year. That is why...
My brain explodes.
And we go back to the beginning of this stream and you know, we're talking about very experienced managers all over Twitter having shocker of a seasons. And I'm in 1.4 million, which is uncharted territory for me, I'll be honest. This is why. Because do you so all the premium teams are doing pretty well. And you've got a headache there. All of the mid-price midfielders are pretty good. Like you've got Mason Mount and you've got Ceballos and you've got Maddison and you've got your man McGinn. There's loads to choose from there. You look up top, you've got Barnes and PUKKI and Abraham and Wilson and even King with a couple of assists.
And Haller.
And Haller. We haven't even seen Haller yet this week. So there's so many options, guys. That is why we are seeing the season we're seeing, is because that pool of FPL assets, which in previous seasons is... you know, maybe 40 to 50 players, and there's a whole ton of players you'd never pick. I think it's a lot bigger this season.
Okay, so I'm going to say something now, maybe controversial.
Oof, go on, bit of controversy. Let's hear it.
Apart from the desire to have Toby, which we've already established, I am seriously contemplating having Trent and all the rest cheap defenders. I don't see any value. I don't see any value in holding Zinchenko. I don't see any value in holding Digne. I know that Digne has got it in him to get assists and goals, and I know that I'm kind of being a little bit cut the nose off to spite my face, because over the course of the four previous game weeks he'd been doing fine. But for me, if I'm going to invest that much in my defence,
you at least want a clean sheet.
They need to get clean sheets, and it is quite frankly so annoying that the likes of Digne and Zinchenko. It's the same what I did with Edison last year when I threw the baby out the pram, because you don't spend that money on a defender to wait for some assists or whatever. They need to be able to get clean sheets, and it really irritates me. So
Digne gone then. Everton were bad defensively. Everton were not good today.
And the stats are terrible for them defensively. Yeah. So for me,
that's the fourth game in a row where they've conceded 2 or more goals.
And if I take Zinchenko down and if I take Digne down, suddenly I've got 2 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
And 2 million in my mid, or 2 million in my strikers, is a lot of money.
All right. Ash Brown is saying it's not Ash Brown. I always love that name. Hello, Ash. How are you doing? It's not Digne's fault. It's Everton.
But it might be Everton. But I'm not blaming Digne, but...
Okay. Simeon Batchelor today is the reason Everton will never be a big club. Oof.
Whoa.
Oof. As soon as I saw that comment, I thought...
Shots fired.
Got to read that, Simeon. Oof. Let's see. Tiki Dude, you'll regret it when the clean sheets start coming.
When will that
maybe,
be?
But
when will that be?
We're not seeing it. Indrani Dole is saying, is Tomori a good option? 4.5 for Chelsea. Well, based on what we've seen...
Why not?
Back-to-back 90 minutes now for the young man, and indeed an absolute stormer of a goal.
At 4.5. Who cares if they don't get a clean sheet?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, maybe. Let's see, Liverpool next, so potentially not next week, but after that, why not? Ruben Lamy, I agree with you, Sam. Defenders being rubbish for that much investment. Let's see, Captain's Pick. Jeff, how are you doing, Jeff? He's in the FPL podcast, Captain's Pick. Josh King, finally, 2 of the jammiest assists you'll ever see. I'm cutting and running, he says.
You getting red?
Taking it, and he's getting red. Zaid is in Zaid Gaming. How you doing, Zaid? He's saying Rashford is good. Well, before we move on to our teams, a quick word about Manchester United then. 1-0 against Leicester.
Is Rashford good? It's a penalty. It's one penalty.
Yeah, he also took a free kick that hit the bar, so...
But does that make him a good FPL asset? When Tammy's getting 3.
That is, you hit the nail on the head there, is that Rashford, I don't think he's a bad asset at all, but at 8.5 you're paying a bit of a premium over the likes of PUKKI and Abraham and Barnes and all the others we've mentioned throughout this podcast. Do you want to pay that premium for Rashford at the minute? I don't think you do, because some of the others are providing exceptional value.
I'm with you.
All right, very good. Let's have a look then at how our teams got on. There's the fixtures. Let's have a look at how our team's gone, and I will do what I didn't do.
Look away now, everybody. Look away.
Yeah, this is a look away moment. Here I am. Here is my team with Mr. Gilbert to play at the back tomorrow night at Villa Park, and I need pretty much a miracle from him. A hat trick from Gilbert would be good. There's my team. 38 points. Pretty bad, guys. Pretty bad. But as I tweeted last night, I don't feel upset with this team. I'm at 1.41 overall rank. I had to put 1.41M because if I'd have put it in actual digits, it would have gone behind. There's too many numbers in my overall rank now. It would have clashed with our faces on the camera. It's ridiculous. So 38 points, not very good, but I don't feel unhappy with that team. I really don't.
The other thing is, and I was flicking through my notebook because I've been writing down my points and my overall rank so that I could flip back easily as we go through these live streams.
Okay.
If you remember back to game week 1 where I had a distinctly average game week 1 and I ended that game week at 2.1 million. By game week 2, I was at 60 something K.
Yeah.
So, and this is the frustration at the moment, and I think this is why a lot of FPL owners are getting so upset, is that it is all so close, and the points totals are nothing.
I think it is.
I
think it is.
There's so little number wise between the rankings that you find yourself just in free fall or in like climbing so quickly. So yes, you might be at 1.4 at the moment, but that team is a decent side, and that has got decent points written all over it. So
yeah, I mean, I look at it and I think, well, who would I get rid of? Well, the Liverpool boys and the Man City boys will come to Otamendi in a minute, but the two Man City boys and the two Liverpool boys, they're staying. Pepe, I've already said, I've talked through my strategy for Pepe staying in the short term. Lundstrom going nowhere. PUKKI going nowhere. Soyunchu's kind of from game week 9 onwards, so he's going to stay. Barnes, all right, he blanked, but nice fixtures coming up, so I don't really want to get rid of him. Yeah. So really, I'm looking at it, and Gilbert I've only just bought in, and he's a 4.4, enabler defender really. Pope in goal as well, happy with that. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, what am I unhappy with in there? Maybe Otamendi based on what we've seen this weekend. But even then, where do you go? It's kind of hard to go to any other 5.5. You don't want to really go up to anybody, I don't think, because I haven't got the money.
Spurs.
So I go to, well, I've considered like a Toby or an Aurier or something like that, potentially. I don't know. But listen, I don't feel like that's a terrible team.
No, it isn't.
The one I was concerned about dropping on my wildcard, the one I was concerned about was Digne. And now after today, Twitter is all full of, I'm getting rid of Digne. So I don't feel like it needs any wholesale changes. I'm kind of happy with it. And at an overall rank of 1.41...
With Gilbert to go?
Maybe I shouldn't be. I don't know. With Gilbert to go, yeah, but there's so many McGinns and Lanzinis and Hallas out there that I'm going to be about 2 million by the end of the game week, aren't I?
No.
It's going to be savage, Sam. Absolutely savage season this season. So 38 points, guys. Let's skirt over it. Not good. I think the team's in good shape. I ain't going to change it. It's looking pretty good. I don't think it needs any wholesale changes. It is what it is. 38 points. Bad game week. We go on. We move on. Let's have a look at you. 37 points with Lanzini and McGinn still to go.
Just don't look at the bench.
Overall rank of 128k. Deeply, deeply unlucky with the King and Cantwell on the bench.
Well, it's not deeply unlucky. It's just stupidity.
It's not stupidity. It's not stupidity at all. King first sub, who would you have not played?
So Cantwell is by the by because I was never going to play him. The Josh King one has got me absolutely through the heart because
King and Lundstrom, I would imagine you were thinking about.
King never left my team sheet until 9 p.m. on Friday night, and I made a last minute decision to play double Sheffield. And I tell you the honest reason why I did it is because every team I saw and the scout picks and everything else had Lundstrom in.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I just thought, why am I playing this? Why am I loyal to Josh King? What has he done for me? Everyone else is playing Lundstrom. If I don't play him, all right, I'm sort of covering it with Hendo in goal, who, by the way, what a kid he is. I'm absolutely in love with that man. Thought he got 4. Conceded and got 4. Love that. So that's annoyed me because that's 8 points, and 8 points more is probably another 80k up the ranks. But it is what it is. Okay. McGinn and Lanzini, yeah.
I think you'll be alright. Those two will be alright. I think your team looks great. There's no, you're not thinking of wildcard or anything ridiculous, are you? I mean, that's in pretty good shape.
No,
right?
And I've got 2 transfers next week, so I'm fine.
Yeah, perfect. So you can do your Kane to Son re-engineering if indeed that's where you want to go.
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
It's probably going to be Digne and Zinchenko.
You're going to have a bit of a rethink at the back.
A defensive wipe the slate clean.
Wipe out, money in the bank, wipe the slate
Goodbye, expensive defenders.
Goodbye, big at the back.
I am done with you.
Big at the back is gone. It's gone. So 37 points. A couple of decent players to go, unlike my Gilbert. You've got Lanzini and McGinn still to go. An overall rank of 128, which at this stage, Sam, I know you're feeling bad about that, but trust me, 95% of the people on this live stream would absolutely love an overall rank of 128k.
It's very good. It's a 100k drop, which feels awful. But
it feels bad. It feels bad.
But 100k is make up a ball, so it's fine.
Of course it is. So there we go, guys. It has been a very lean game week in the FPL family. There's no doubt about it. It has been very, very difficult indeed. Get into the polls, guys. We're going to answer these questions for the guys in our Patreon. And if you want to join us over on Patreon, we would love you to do that. All the details are in the...
The manager of the month is wide open because we're all done.
Anyone
rubbish.
could win. Anyone,
Apart
genuinely.
from Kieran, who's had an absolute stormer.
Kieran's doing very, very well, but there's a few that are doing quite well, actually.
Chris has done well as well, hasn't he?
So there's a few in
There's
there.
a couple.
So, listen, the manager of the month for September is still very much wide open. So if you want to head over to Patreon, check out what we do over there, all the extra Ohana podcasts and what have you over there. The manager of the month, of course, and indeed our Slack chat channel, which has been great over this weekend, and people consoling each other.
It's lovely therapy.
Over this, very therapeutic over in the Slack. Thank you to the Slackers that join us over there. All the links in the description below. Check us out over on patreon.com/FPL Family. Here are the questions from the guys in the Slack. First question was Scott. He was asking about where we're spending our money. Big at the back, big in the middle, big up front. Now, I'm very interested to see how this is going to go. You're going to say in the middle, are you?
100% in the middle.
Okay, the guys agree with you. 76% of you guys, big in the middle.
Yep.
18% big up top, and only, get this, 4% big at the back.
There's no value in the back.
Who'd have said that in game week 1?
Well, nobody. That's why we went big at the back.
Game week 1 was Trent, Robbo, Digne, Laporte,
Big keeper. Or
and Edison. It was like,
yeah.
Jeez, big at the back. So there we go,
It's
guys.
Alisson's injury and Laporte's injury that's done this.
You're absolutely spot on. It's shaking it right up, isn't it? Shaking it right up. So therefore, City defence, stick or twist. I think I know the answer. Twist, they're gone. But you guys in the live chat are pretty split. Pretty much 50-50. Twist, 49%. Stick, 50%, 51%.
That's tight.
I'm very interested to see
Depends
that result, guys.
though, because Otamendi much more attacking than Zinchenko.
Not sure about much more attack yet, but it has got some threat compared to Zinchenko, who
had none.
You're kind of just looking for the clean sheet, aren't you? Really, by the looks of things, yeah. Best Spurs asset: Kane, Son, Lamella, Ericsson, other. I can't think of anybody better placed to answer this question than you, Sam from FPL Family. What are you saying?
Son.
Gotta be in it. Gotta be 90%. 90% of you saying Sun Hyun-min.
Little shout for Toby. I really think that man's got goals in him this year.
Absolutely not surprised to see that result, guys. Kane 2%, Lamella 2%, other 2%, Ericsson only 1%, but Son in at 90%. He is looking like an excellent asset. Man United defence, if you had him, Sam, would you buy, sell or hold? How are you feeling about that?
If I had him, I'd hold, but I'm not going to buy, so...
Just hold.
Just hold.
Okay, you can say hold. Man United defence, hold. 47%. The community agree with you, although 45% are saying sell. Despite the clean sheet this weekend, hold 47%,
wow.
Sell 45%, buy only 6%. So despite the clean sheet, not many of you looking to jump onto Wan-Bissaka or Maguire or anybody else like that. And I must admit, having watched the highlights at Old Trafford this weekend, did lead a little bit of a charmed life, that goal. Leicester could have easily scored in that game.
It was a lot about De Gea, wasn't it, in that game?
I think so. So listen, it's either a hold or a sell on Man United defence. Guys, what a game week. What a game week it has been. It's been an absolutely crazy game week. That is probably my now third really poor game week out of 4. I had the game week, when was it? Game week 3 was pretty good. Game week 3 was good, but
you started well, didn't you?
1 was good, 2 was bad, 3 was good, and then 4 and 5 have been bad.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I've had some unlucky moments, but some bad picks also. But I can't get my captain right. Don't know about
that. Was me last year.
Captain, I just cannot get it right. I mean, game week 1 and 3 did get it right. But outside of that, really not nailing the captain.
But that is, you've hit the nail on the head with that, because if you get your captain wrong, you don't have a good game week.
You do.
Because the captain
right.
thing is playing in a way that I've never seen. The captain thing is huge this year. If you get your captain wrong, because it's always on a premium, and what we're seeing is that some premiums are performing in some games and they blank in others. And if you put it on a blanker, like this week, we've both gone with Man City. The Salah captainers...
But it's weird, isn't it? You think back to last season, and I remember following Dave Monday's tweets and following the Scoutcast. He had like 17 captains in a row just coming in every week. And I think Holly did the same, FF Community. Holly Shan did pretty well as well. And here we are in this season, and it's like trying to nail jelly to a wall. You just cannot pick it right. It's just impossible. It's impossible.
And you're feeling the pain that I did. I mean, I didn't get one right until the very last game week last year.
No.
And it affects
very last game week?
That was the first time I captained my most point-scoring player.
Is that right?
Yeah, the last game week.
You had a good season last year as well.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, is that the captain thing is so important. And this season, more so than ever.
Well, listen, I'm going to be perma armbanding Timo PUKKI from now on. He's going to absolutely be a captain option for me, and I'm not joking. He's a captaincy option. I'm joking about the perma armband, but he's a captain option now, PUKKI, in my mind. And we'll be talking about other crazy decisions like the PUKKI perma captain later this week, guys. So you will find Sam actually on FPL FYI this week. So
Couldn't
you're going
have had me
down
last
to
week, could they? When I was at 20k.
Yeah, you got to go on
19K.
with James and Rambo and talk about a shocking game week. If it makes you feel any better, I think Rambo's had a stinker as well, so don't worry about it.
And he's ill, bless him.
He's not very well, old Rambo. So hopefully he has a few lemon sips and he'll be fine for Wednesday, Thursday when that arrives on the Premier League YouTube channel. So if you've not checked out FPL FYI yet, guys, go head out onto the YouTube for the Premier League YouTube channel. I think my video is maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but look out, hit subscribe on that channel because Sam will be on there later next week talking about game week 6 and reviewing all the fixtures and on with James and Rambo. So look out for FPL FYI. Also look out for the Fantasy Premier League podcast. You were on last week. I'm on this week. I think you're on again in a couple of weeks. So it's a bit of an FPL family takeover with poor old James. He's had enough of us.
He has had enough of us.
So it's going to be you on FYI later this week. Me on the FPL podcast. So again, we've got a very busy week full of Premier League FPL goodness, guys, and I'm hoping that at some stage all of the effort that I'm putting into research for these live streams, for the pod, for FYI, for FPL show, at some stage it's got to come good for me, isn't it? 1.4 million, Sam. I take some sort of... Thank you guys for joining us this evening because I felt like it's been therapeutic. You've needed it a little bit as well. It's the first time you've needed it for a little while. 100k rank drop. That's quite insane for Sam. That's quite serious. The rest of us down in the 1 and 2 millions. We're used to it.
You beat me this game week. You should take heart in that. I mean, you won't have by the end unless McGinn and Lanzini do something ridiculous and Gilbert gets hat-trick.
At least for the next 23 hours, I'll be 1 point ahead of you in game week 5.
You are going to be intolerable if Gilbert... That's something in my two don't. Intolerable.
If Gilbert scores, it will make my game week go from absolute rubbish to...
You'll probably jump a million places. You'll be at 400k.
Just rubbish. It'll be from absolute rubbish to rubbish. A Gilbert goal actually could move you up half a million.
You'll be up a million, I reckon, if Gilbert scores.
So there we go, guys. That's the message, guys. That's the message you should take from this live stream is not get Gilbert. The message is it is still very tight. It's all to play for. It's early days. Game week 5 was a disaster for many of us, guys.
But game week 6 is going to be amazing.
Some of you did very, very well, but game week 5 was a disaster. Chin up. Game week 6 will be very, very good. Look out for Sam on FPL FYI later this week. Look out for me on the podcast, and we will see you same time, same place, Sunday 8 p.m. looking over game week 6, which we hope, Sam, is a lot better than the crap we've just seen, guys. Good night. Thank you for joining us.
Enjoy some green arrows tomorrow, everyone. Bye.